Hey, hopefully you can see me okay. Obviously, the waterfall is a little brighter than me. I'm not that bright. I got to start bringing a light out here with me. But I was going to just make one point that, I've had some time to think. That's the whole point of this. I've been up here a couple hours, and it seems obvious now. I'm doing this project where I'm like writing in the woods, and, I'm merging these two things. And the whole lesson that keeps coming up that is really crystallized, that I've had some time to just think about it while hiking, is that it's all just discipline. It's all one thing. They say there's only one art. There's a dog running around. It's really cute. So that's what I've created now, and it's working, and it's in surprising ways, and I knew it would, but it doesn't make the surprises not surprising. I'll give you an example. Like, now I'm doing 2 hours of writing a day at home or out here, whatever. And, that dog is shaking so close to my camera. Anyway, and like the other day I was very sleep deprived, and I did that for 1 hour. And after an hour, I started to feel really weird. I felt like I was on drugs or something. And started to feel almost sick. And I didn't really like that. And I couldn't really go on. So I went and laid down. I thought, well, maybe I'm just sleep deprived. I have a baby after all. So I went and lay down. Had this really bizarre hour and a half long nap, and then when I came to, I wasn't quite awake, and I was like, I'll try to go back to sleep. I had this really bizarre experience where I saw all these new characters and all these new locations, and even some plot points and like magical concepts that I want to put into this new novel that I'm writing. And surprise, surprise, a lot of it takes place in the woods, and I mentioned all these things that I liked when I was a kid, like Pokémon, Dungeons and Dragons, what else? Harry Potter, and like all my favorite parts of those, they're all like in the woods. So I'm incorporating that into the next bit of writing. But yeah, I'm on a bit of a time crunch, so I'm going to get on with it. But if you take one thing away from this, it's just like it's hard for creatives sometimes to have a discipline, but if you do it, you'll surprise yourself in terms of what ends up happening, what ends up coming out of you, and what you might break the form a little bit. But if you just have that time carved out, promise, like have a longer term plan, but then just in the short term, just that, set practice, set whatever you want it, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, because it's all one thing. That's the point. Okay, I'm gonna go enjoy this waterfall. Bye-bye. The stump from last time is over there. So I'm finishing up. This is really good. This is like a good level of challenge for me right now. There's just enough of those moments of like having to stop and go, oh my God. So I was just going up hills and going like, wow. So for my current fitness level, this is really nice. And that's, takes discipline to do that. I wanted to talk about Pokemon. So explain why I think, like, for me, Pokemon and the forest go together. Well, if you don't know Pokemon, pretty early on, and like, when I would play the blue version when I was like 10 or 11, it was like this wonderful escape for me. I really loved it. It was just the best, and one of the first places you go is the Viridian Forest. And around that time, I was doing a lot of hikes, particularly the Baden-Powell Trail here in North Van with my family. And I associated these things, I guess, in some way. I do remember now that I've been reflecting on it. Like it's a feeling that I've been chasing, this blending of reality and, I don't know, fantasy, magic, whatever. Because I half expect to sort of step on a weird little creature, or like, and around that time my imagination started exploding in some ways that when I look back on it, it's like, yeah, I was an imaginative kid, but there was something particularly where I wasn't just escaping to fantasy lands. I was kind of like, I'd go out and point and tell my sister that there were like gnomes living in the bushes over there, stuff like that. So with Pokemon, it's like, even now I'm like, I think of like, finding like a little Pokeball, or like finding an item or a Pokemon out in the woods. There's like this magic to it, because I was obsessed with that game. And yeah, just anytime we'd camp or go hiking, which we did a fair bit of, those things like in my little child brain like started to mush together, and I think that helped give me this like magical view of nature and the forest in particular. And then like Lord of the Rings, the first Peter Jackson movie, came out around that time as well. And I lived near a forest and had previously watched the forest behind our old house on Vancouver Island get chopped down. Like we watched as all these trees got chopped down. And I'm like, man, I'd seen baby deer in there and fireflies and all this stuff, and then it's just gone. So, a lot of feelings. I want to talk about feelings, because I talked about discipline briefly in that little first part. But really, what that allows you to do is get to your feelings, and that's where the good stuff is. And I guarantee there's stuff hiding there that you don't know about, because if you just felt everything all the time, you wouldn't be able to do very much. At the same time, like if you felt absolutely nothing, there were people who lost the ability to feel, I think, or they had it removed somehow. It's a fly. Yeah, if you have no feelings, like you can't make decisions at all. And I think there are times when I've felt like that, and I've met people who are like that. They're just so out of touch with themselves. It's pretty dangerous. But at the same time, yeah, like feelings are pretty scary. But that's what I've been sort of tapping into. Like I mentioned the other day, I had that weird nap and then this weird experience. And it's because I was feeling really weird. I've been noticing feelings like in my stomach. The more I write and the more I reflect and the more I, come out and do this kind of thing, the more in touch with that I am. And it's really applicable because I do photography, I do art, I do music, I do writing. And if I look at a picture, or look at a photograph, I know how I feel about it. This is a little different. This is pretty practical. As long as you can see some trees and you can see me well enough, whatever. But, if I take a photo or if I see a photo that I think is, I'm not even thinking, there's just a feeling associated with it. Like I'm way more tapped into that lately, which can be, especially with photography, something that kind of goes away because you just start thinking so technically all the time, or think in terms of like design and color theory and composition, what's correct and that kind of thing, which is fine. I mean, if you're, trying to make money at it, that's pretty important. And in general, it's good to have these tools, not rules. I had a drawing teacher once be like, it's a tool, not a rule when you're doing the line of action. And it changed the way I saw drawing. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, the point is, it's like David Lynch, right? He would say, you got to go deeper, got to sink your hook deeper to get the big fish. And so he would say like 4 hours of uninterrupted painting to get a good painting, for example. For me, it's like, man, just give me 2 hours and I'm kind of good, at least at this point. 2 hours seems to be the sweet spot for me. Yeah, 2 hours of just writing is great for me. I will come up with something, and I have been coming up with stuff. Right now, just to let you in on like what I'm writing, I mean, I'm doing this little book about death, which is cool. I'm going to have that done by the end of the month. The drawings are coming along. It's just kind of a fun little project, gets me moving, gets things. It's good to finish stuff, and I think people will like it. But anyway. But the bigger thing is another novel that's coming along, and it's a fantasy novel. I always kind of wanted to write a fantasy novel. I'm honestly not that big of a fan of fantasy novels is the problem. I find them kind of formulaic a lot of the time. I think the last one I read that I really liked was The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I thought that was I just really liked that one. I totally lost myself in it, and I went, amazing. I should probably read the rest of I guess he never finished that series, did he? Anyway. But no, like even like, I know this is sacrilege, but like I'm not a huge Game of Thrones fan. I love Lord of the Rings. Brandon Sanderson, I don't care for that much. as another example of like someone who's super popular, and maybe it's just because he writes for younger people. I don't know. I'm more drawn to like the Arthur legend and stuff like that. Like I'm doing a lot of research on Merlin right now because I'm writing about a wizard. That was always kind of my problem as a kid with Lord of the Rings. I'm like, why isn't this just about Gandalf? I don't really care about these little hobbits. Now, I mean, no, I soften to them. I get it. I'm not a monster. I love hobbits. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, give me the wizard movie. Oh, Gandalf is fighting Saruman. Well, this should be what the movie's about. For me. Like that's what I find really cool. But also like just the sprawling world and traveling around and stuff. That's what I'm getting at with my writing now. This wizard I'm writing about is not Gandalf. He's more I mean, I'm consciously, a couple of times I had to be like, nope, you're just ripping off Gandalf as I'm outlining his character. But I'll say this, he's got a staff with an orb at the top. That's all I'm going to give you right now, because that's the only thing that I'm 100,000% on. Because that's just like, again, it's feelings, right? So I'm sitting there for 2 hours, and that whole 2 hours, I'm like, oh, I've just come up with this it's not like I came up with this idea, but I was looking at kind of reference photos for wizards, and the ones I really like have like an orb on a stick, and I'm like, there's something about that just like on a deep level, just like I'm just like, yeah, like it just feels good. So you end up you create a space with discipline, and then you end up chasing the feelings. Ideally, for me, that's what I think. That's what I do. It's what I think people should do if they're writing. You're chasing a feeling. You're following a feeling, let's say. When I wrote my first novel, it was like just all of my frustration and angst, all of these crappy feelings that I had from living in a city. And a lot of them were like from experiences that happened like 10 years ago or more. But they were still there, and I had to deal with them. And I did through this kind of angry ass book. And this next one's not going to be quite as angry. I don't want it to be there's dark stuff. The Dungeons and Dragons influence is there, especially mainly the dungeons part. But not like, ooh, we're in a spooky dungeon. It's like you get thrown into an oubliette and you get left down there, and good luck. So much for you. Oh no, in reality, pretty horrible, not fun, not funny, not cute, like really nasty. And just reading about history and stuff is all feeding into that. But I really wanted to have this kind of magical feel to it, because that's what I want. In also just like in life, I like having a magical mindset. I like magical thinking. I like Alan Moore. I don't quite have it in me to grow my hair as long as his or my beard as long as his, but maybe one day. He's just like, he turned 40 and he's like, oh, I'm a magician. I'm a magician. And he knew how crazy that sounded. He always prefaces it by saying like, I thought I'd completely lose my mind and declare to my friends that I'm a magician now. Yeah, that's insane. I'm not quite ready to do that. I'm not quite 40 either. So maybe by the time I'm 40, I'll one up you, Alan Moore. I'm a wizard. Maybe. Although I think you need to be a little older than 40 to be a wizard. So I think I'll just like secretly work on my wizarding until... That was always the problem with Harry Potter, right? It's like, you're not a wizard. Harry is not a wizard. You're not a wizard, Harry. You're 11 years old. Like, you're a little kid. Like, maybe you're a magical little boy. Okay. But, and I like Harry Potter. I liked it growing up anyway. I mentioned that in the first episode, the immersion of chewing on a piece of leather and reading that first book, which actually ties back into all of this. So yeah, coming into the forest, I go into the forest, and I'm thinking about the whole time about a wizard going on a quest that involves him going through forests, although it's going to have more of a wintry sort of feel. Just imagine this. And again, immersion, like feeling, physical, tactile stuff. So pretend you're a wizard and you're out in the woods, and it's just snow everywhere, and you got your layered cloak on, and you're a little bit enchanted. So you're kind of okay, but really it's quite cold, and you can feel the cold, and you just want some relief, but also you need to enchant yourself with a potion, and you with magical fire, you brew up a batch of magic tea, and you're drinking hot tea while it's frickin' cold outside, man. You can feel that. That's not something that's so out there that you can't imagine it. It's a very human feeling. Like, it's got to be relatable in a human way. Like, he's got an apprentice character, and I think it's a girl. Not 100% on that one, but that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm feeling. The reason she becomes his apprentice is because she's a flawed character, and she is misunderstood by the people in her village, and they will never understand her. Only a wizard can really understand what she's about. Kind of hard to explain. Maybe I should write a book. So yeah, 2 hours a day to try and figure this out. But it's really it's like nothing was happening, and now it's getting a little late. I should wrap this up, but I will end on kind of a weird thought. So there's this guy, Boyd Rice, and he is a musician. And I don't agree with a lot of stuff that he's done or said right off the bat. In fact, this thing that he said, I'm not even sure I agree with it. I know I don't totally agree with it. Anyway, here's what it is. He's like, there's winners and there's losers in the world. And if you're not getting exactly what you want out of life, you're a loser. And I'm like, ouch. That sucks. It's a super mean thing to say. But that quote, that line is so interesting. It's like, it's such a I don't even know if Boyd Rice meant that completely himself, but it's very interesting to just do the thought experiment. If I'm not getting exactly what I want out of life, that's my fault. It's just nice to have that, honestly, to sort of approach it from that angle. I think, it's like radical responsibility. I think that's a really cool way of going about stuff. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say oh, well, I guess I'm a loser. That's obviously not what you're supposed to take away from that. It's, but I'll tell you what's interesting is that I went well, I don't think I'm getting everything I want out of life. And I thought, well, one of the big problems is I'm not even sure what that is. If someone asked me what is spell it out in 1,000 words, exactly what you want out of life, I don't really think I could do that. And that's that helped pull the plug on everything I was feeling. I went to a whoa, that's the sun. I went to a hypnotherapist years ago. I was really anxious and just freaking out about stuff. And he's like, we need to open up your feelings and let your feelings out. And I'm like, are you nuts? I said, I might throw your TV out the window if I let all my feelings out. And he laughed and just said, don't do that. And I'm like, okay. But then he did the hypnosis, and he's like, it was kind of a guided meditation. That's how it felt. And then it unleashed all this stuff. I felt it. And it just came and went. It's all this stuff that's in your body. Oh man, as you get older, it's so easy to just try and push your feelings down. And it just seems like the sensible thing to do, because then you can be rational. No, that's still there, and it's still operating on some level and making you do what you do. Read some Carl Jung. He'll explain it better than I can. But, it's fun actually when you start to explore it and you're not afraid of yourself anymore. That sun is right in my eye. So when I ask myself, what do I really want? And give myself time, really take my time and don't forget that that's the main question. I start to come up with answers, and they're really interesting. It's I've been frustrated with photography a little bit, and it turns out I really like to do film photography. I didn't know that, but when I got in touch with how I felt about it, I feel very strongly that that's what I want to do, way more than video, and more than digital photography. So just as an example, and that's so actionable. That's something I can do something about and maybe even make money with. So I didn't know that until I really asked myself what I wanted. Tagged onto that was the and you can have it, but you have to know what it is. Right now, I want to get more water. I'm running out of water. Oh, here's a quick tip. If you're ever hiking, bring chocolate covered almonds. I just ate a bunch of them, and I have way more energy than I would otherwise. And save them for the end. Save them for later in the hike. And if you have people with you, don't tell them that you have them until the very end, and then you just pull them out. I did this week-long hike, and the last night we were there, before leaving, hiking our way out of there the next day, we're at camp, and I just pulled out a full bag of chocolate covered almonds, and I've never seen so many people so happy and just oh my God, it's so good. Anyway, get in touch with your feelings. No pressure to get exactly what you want out of life, but I think on some level you can within reason. And just feel your feelings, feel out life a little bit more, and slow down like a snail. That's another lesson I took in this week is just slow down. So, there's someone coming. I think I'm done. Okay, bye.